Hello and welcome to another episode of the StacyM show. So today I'm going to talk about selling a house in New South Wales because that's one of the topics that was sent in for me to talk about. So I'm specifically going to be referring to New South Wales. However, this would pretty much apply across Australia. So looking at selling your property, there are a number of things I would recommend. The first is I would probably contact a real estate agent in your local area or contact a couple and see what the market is like. So it may be a buyer's market, meaning that there's plenty of properties out there. It could be a vendor's market, so someone that's selling the property because there isn't much available. If you have a pool, you might be more likely to put it on the market like in spring, so you make the pool look beautiful, and it could be more enticing for somebody to purchase a house in that warmer weather. Interest rate timing can also affect that as well. So I would recommend just, first of all, having a chat with a real estate agent or a couple of real estates in the area that you're selling to see what the market is like. It would also be a good feel to see what type of real estate agent you are comfortable with. So just like lawyers, we're not all created equal. Real estate agents can be the same, and it's the same with any profession. So there are going to be some real estate agents you love, some maybe not so love. So if you're using them to sell your house, you need to make sure that it's an agent that you trust, that you're comfortable with, because if you choose an agent that you're not trusting and not comfortable with, it's probably not going to go very smoothly. So first tip would be to have a chat with one or two agents in your area just to gauge what the market is like. They may also give you an appraisal. So if you're looking at maybe selling to purchase another property, it would be helpful to know the estimate price of what you could get for your property, because that will assist you in knowing how much you might be able to spend on your next property. And in that case, I would also be having a chat with a mortgage broker like us at Confetti to work out what your borrowing capacity could be. You might have to sell your house to buy a new one. You could have like a line of credit, whatever it might be. So to have that information as well would be really handy. So real estate agent or real estate agents to start with. And if you're selling to buy, I would be chatting with a mortgage broker as well, just to make sure that you work out, the timing, because selling and buying at the same time can be stressful. So you want to make sure that you're prepared as you possibly can. Something else you might want to consider with a real estate agent is there anything on the property that we should do that we might get more money from? So if, I don't know, you haven't done any landscaping, so maybe it's dirt and you haven't put turf down or something like that. It might be, hey, if you pop turf down, it's going to be more appealing. Hey, if you paint the house, that's going to be more appealing. If you're renovating, you want to make sure that you don't spend too much and you don't overcapitalize, and then you're not going to get that money back. So having a chat to, hey, is there anything that you would recommend us doing before that property goes on the market? What we also suggest is that you get a pest and building inspection. So usually you would get that if you were buying a property. We recommend you get that when you're selling as well. So anything can get picked up in that report before it goes to market, so you have an opportunity to fix whatever it might be. Because if you go and accept an offer and a buyer does a pest and building report, they might say there's live termites, there's broken roof tiles, there's a leak, whatever it might be. that can affect your sale price, that can affect negotiations, that's probably going to delay the sale. So if you can try and get that all done before the property goes to market, so when a buyer does come and do a pest and building inspection, there will probably always be something. I don't think I've ever seen a report with nothing. Usually a pest report is nothing unless, there's active termites or there's evidence that there were active termites at some point. A building report, even on a brand new property, will still likely have something, but it would be really minimal. So definitely would be recommending a pest and building report before it goes on market, just so you can address anything before a buyer picks something up. Agent preparing, so you might want to consider a staging company as well. So that can be a little bit tricky if you're living in the property, but using a stager, they can make the house seem more appealing. I'm not saying that your house is not appealing, but depending on the furniture, first impressions matter. So if somebody walks into your house, if you walk into your house and you're like, ugh, a buyer's going to think the same thing. So having that property stage, a buyer's going to walk through that door and go, oh, wow, like this place is so big, and oh yeah, we can put that there, and whatever else it may be. So those first impressions can make a difference. And I would recommend that you look into a staging company. They're probably not cheap, and it depends how big your property is as well. But highly likely they will get you more of a sale price, and you'll probably sell quicker if you perhaps engage a staging company. So sometimes the real estate agents have recommendations as well. So consider somebody staging your property, just so you got that wow factor when you first walk in to that door, through that front door. So you might want to consider that. Decluttering and putting anything into storage as well would be a great idea, or having a massive spring clean. Walking into a house that's cluttered, you'll probably be getting people that's going to walk straight out. It's going to make the property appear smaller as well if you've got like shit everywhere. So I would recommend that you get rid of anything that you don't need, or if there's stuff that you need, perhaps getting a storage shed, unless you do have, a shed on your property or something, just to try and keep it all clean and tidy so it's not overwhelming when a buyer walks through that door. You will be needing a conveyancer or a lawyer at some point. So for an agent to market the property, a conveyancer or lawyer needs to prepare a marketing contract, and there's a number of disclosure documents that need to go into that document. And then once that's complete and sent to the real estate agent, that property can then go to market. So even if you want to have a chat to a solicitor or conveyancer at the start of you thinking about selling, it's like, hey, just letting you know, I'm looking at selling. We're just going to tidy a few things up on the property. We haven't decided on an agent yet. We will be buying, so we're going to have to do like a simultaneous settlement. So we're going to have to sell to buy. Communicating all that with a lawyer or conveyancer towards a start will also help you, because they will be able to give you the terminology you need to go put an offer in. So, yep, cool. So if you need to sell to buy, you have to have that subject to pest, build and finance. If it's a strata property, we'll need to get a strata report as well. You'd have to see whether they will agree to a subject to sale clause. They probably won't, but having that information at the start will also be helpful, because if you don't do anything until you go to sell, and then you don't tell your conveyancer or lawyer you're looking at buying, they should be asking the question. But if it doesn't come up, and then you got to place an offer on the property, and then that's accepted and the contract comes through, then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, we need a delayed settlement, or it's got to be subject to sale. If we then go back and try to renegotiate, you may make the vendor agitated, because it would be like, okay, well, you didn't say that at the offer stage. There are these other people that were interested, there could be a little bit of conflict there. So engaging a conveyancer or a lawyer and saying to them, yes, I need to sell to buy. No, I don't. No, I'm not buying. Yes, I'm buying. Just really helps make that process a lot more smooth as well. There's different marketing strategies to discuss with your real estate agent as well. The property might go to auction. So there could be an auction process for that. They might have people, there's kind of like off-market sales. They might already have somebody lined up to purchase a property based on what they're chasing, what they're after, what your property has. Definitely consider getting a professional photographer. If you are selling your house without an agent, all of this will still be applicable, maybe with the exception of the agent component. But if you are selling the house on your own, I would definitely be engaging in a photographer and or videographer. If I have seen properties for sale and they're clearly taken on, an iPhone can be great, but the photos are dark, they're not taken on the right angle, and I will swipe through. I won't even look at the rest of the photos because straight away I'm turned off, and I know I'm not the only one. So definitely spend the money on those professional photos, whether you're with an agent or not, because the photos will make all the world of difference. And that's also that first impression that I was talking about before. You make that first impression and it's like, wow, if you walk in and there's half painted rooms and there's clutter everywhere and broken furniture and everything, a buyer will probably walk out the door. So very important to make sure that professional photographers are used. You're going to be having open homes, so your home's going to have to be clean during that open home. So take that into consideration as well. You're consider your house on show every single day, because you don't know when someone's going to ring up the agent and go, hey, I want to look at this property now. And if that house is a mess, you might lose that first impression. And I know that my house isn't clean every day either, so I know that's high expectations, but decluttering would help with that tidying up because there's just less laying around. So the whole negotiation things that will really be done with your agent. If you're not using an agent, then that's naturally going to be done with yourself. You're acting in lieu as an agent. There could be multiple offers. So until a contract is exchanged, it's still out there for anybody. So it could be, if you have 3 people interested in your property, it might be first to unconditional exchange, for example. So that means they're committed, they're going ahead. The only way that contract will come to an end if someone loses mental capacity or passes away, assuming there's no other clauses added to the contract. So they're committed. It could be you might have a cash buyer and they may be ready to go straight away, as opposed to somebody who's waiting for a loan. So there could be different offers out there, cooling off periods. So especially if you're selling and buying at the same time, it's really, really important that you align your dates up. So that's why it's really important to communicate with your agent saying, look, I have to sell to buy. We have to tee these dates up. And your conveyancer or lawyer, knowing that, is also going to be able to tee those dates up for you, because highly likely you're going to need funds from your sale to go ahead with your purchase. And if those dates aren't aligned, you're not going to have the money, you could be homeless, whatever it might be, and it's just going to create so much stress that you don't need to have. So just make sure you communicate that with your team. Yes, I'm selling to buy. No, I'm not. I need a long settlement. The shortest settlement we would recommend is 28 days, which is 4 weeks. So all of those things, super, super important. Having said that, the general settlement periods are 4, 5 or 6 weeks. So 28 days, 35 days and 42 days. Would definitely not put anything on a contract under 28 days. We had to do a 2-week one before Christmas, and I just was so about it. But it had to be done before Christmas. Otherwise, I'm going to get charged a whole pile of land tax. And we obviously went through the risks of having a 2-week settlement. We were in tune, like with the bank, going, right, this has to happen. Yeah, we're cool. So it ended up being perfectly all okay. We did settle on time, but definitely would not be recommending you put anything under 4 weeks. Otherwise, you will breach in the contract. And usually, I said it's either 5 weeks or 6 weeks. If you need something above that, then you need to communicate. I need an extended settlement. I need a 12-week settlement. I need, 12 weeks to go find another property or whatever it might be. So you need to communicate that all with your team to make sure that they can make it go as smoothly as possible. There's going to be costs involved. So there's going to be a certain commission payable by the agent. They should be able to discuss that with you at the start before you go to sign your agency agreement. And there's going to be a marketing plan attached to that as well. You're going to have legal fees. So there are certain disclosure documents that need to be attached to the contract called disbursements. They're things that a lawyer should not be making money on because they're things that we've had to order to put into the contract. But, there's prep time, obviously, in getting instructions and putting that contract together and sending it to the agent. And then when the purchase is found, it's, going through that stage right until settlement. So if you are looking at getting quotes from a conveyancer or lawyer, make sure that they give you the full quote. So sometimes someone will go, oh, yep, I can get that for like $500. And we're like, if you were getting that for $500, then I can probably guarantee you that is not the full price, or that is just something is going to happen. Like, that is way too cheap for a conveyance, and there's no way anybody would be making money from it. But sometimes that's just for a certain stage, or it's not including disbursements, or it's not including GST. So if you're getting that quote, I would be going, hey, I'm selling a house. Can you please give me a quote? And you want to make sure that includes disbursements and GST, so you don't have any surprises. I would also be getting a cost agreement sent out by the lawyer or conveyancer, who should be doing that anyway, so you know where the fees are at. So again, you're not all of a sudden hit with a $5,000 fee. So please just make sure that if you are looking around for quotes, that they're specific. You have to go, is this the full amount? Does this include disbursements? Does this include GST? Otherwise, you might get a bit of a shock. But there'll be advertising costs on top of that. You might have staging fees on top of that. You might have relocation fees. You might need to fix things before you go sell, to move, staging, whatever there might be. So there could be a number of costs associated with that as well. So just bear that in mind. So again, you don't get a shock as to how much something is going to cost. If you were going to sell a property that's only 3 years old, there's a number of other documents you're going to have. So you're going to have a final occupation certificate and homeowner's warranty, anything else attached, so like a survey report. There are things that you're going to have. And even if it's we will still always ask if you have those documents, that they're documents that need to be attached to the contract. If you have a pool or a spa, it has to be registered, and there has to be a compliance certificate. So you can have something non-compliant, which means it's going to be the buyer's responsibility after settlement. It will probably affect your purchase price. So it's probably in your interest to get that pool registered or spa registered and compliant. So there's no issues when you go to find a buyer, because that certificate needs to be popped into the contract as well. There can be emotional considerations as well. If that's a house that you've raised your kids in, if your parents have passed away or someone close to you and you're selling that house, that can be really emotional as well, and that's completely normal. So just, make mention, hey, this is the house I grew up in, mum and dad have passed away, so I'm finding this a little bit hard. Just communicate that. That's completely normal. We would appreciate you telling us that, because we would be able to support you a little bit more through that if we knew that this was going to be a really hard sell for you. So I hope that helps. I said it's relevant really throughout Australia. There's certain different processes, like in Queensland, the agent prepares the contract and there's no disclosure. Victoria is similar to New South Wales. They actually have more disclosure than New South Wales. So the crust of what I've said is reasonably still applicable, getting that report done before you go on the market to make sure that there's no surprises, staging, things like that. Decluttering can still be really important, irrelevant of what state you're in. So we do have other podcasts and, on our socials and our blogs and everything in relation to selling. So we'll pop our links down below. If you have any questions about selling, please let us know. We can only help down the East Coast, so Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria. We don't do the other states. They're just a bit too different, and we don't get a lot of them to warrant to know how to do that. So anything down the East Coast, we can definitely assist you with, or if you need help with something, please reach out and we will do what we can to help you. So hopefully that helps you in relation to if you're looking at selling a property. Thanks for tuning in, and I will catch you next time. See you guys.